Hello there. Welcome, wherever you are. And whenever you found your way to this quiet corner of the internet, I invite you to settle in, to let go, and allow your thoughts to drift gently into the soft, undemanding rhythms of the past. You're listening to Sleepless Mysteries, once again, where we unfold the pages of time, not with drama and excitement, but with a gentle touch, soothing, steady, and unhurried. Tonight's journey takes us to the high seas, but not the romanticized ones you may be used to. This isn't the world of daring treasure maps, charming rogues with parrots, or buried chests gleaming with gold. No, tonight we'll be exploring a slower, deeper truth, the often overlooked, gritty, and grueling reality of life as a pirate. 'Cause for all its freedom and mythic adventure, being a pirate, quite frankly, sucked. But before we dive in, let me ask you, what time is it for you right now? Are you listening in the quiet hush of early dawn, or are you easing into slumber after a long, full day? Let me know in the comments if you're still awake enough to do so. Now, gently close your eyes, or let your gaze soften, okay? And imagine yourself somewhere far from here, floating not on a bed or sofa, but on a creaking wooden deck, rocked gently by the endless, swaying sea. The smell of salt and tar fills your nose. The sun is harsh, your clothes are damp. The ocean stretches forever in every direction. This is not a dream, but daily life for a pirate in the 17th century. Let's begin, not with battles or buried gold, but with something quieter, more constant. Let us slip into the slow, repetitive rhythm of a pirate's daily life. Picture the deck of a pirate vessel, rough-hewn planks, cracked and weather-worn. The wood beneath your feet never fully dries. Salt crystals cling to every surface. Your boots if you have any air stiff with brine. Your clothes always damp and stiff with the grime of sea life. The sun is merciless. There is no shade save the narrow overhang near the captain's cabin. The wind is a constant companion, sometimes a blessing, sometimes a curse. When calm seas strike, the sails droop like weary flags, and the heat is suffocating. Pirates did not live in luxury. Most shared cramped quarters below deck, where the air was thick and stagnant. Space was at a premium. Men slept in hammocks, strung between beams, often swinging into one another with each roll of the ship. The smell down there was indescribable. A mixture of old rope, sweat, gunpowder, mildew, and the sour temps of unwashed bodies. Ventilation was poor. Candles flickered faintly, casting shadows on mold-streaked walls. Meals were simple, monotonous, and rarely satisfying. Hard-tacked, dense biscuits that could crack a tooth was a staple. These biscuits often harbored weevils, little beetles that lived in the flour and made a home in the bread. Many sailors learned to eat them anyway, closing their eyes and biting down without thought. There was salted pork or beef meat preserved and brined, so strong it had to be soaked in water before it could be chewed. Fresh produce was a luxury, disappearing within days of leaving port. Scurvy, a disease born of vitamin C deficiency, was a slow and common visitor. Gums swelled and bled, teeth loosened, energy faded. Water, when stored for too long, grew stagnant and foul. Sometimes vinegar or alcohol was added to disguise the taste, and alcohol, especially rum, was more than a drink. It was a currency, a coping mechanism, a way to forget, for a while, the vast emptiness around them. Hygiene was primitive, at best. There were no proper toilets, just a plank or open area near the bow, exposed to wind and weather. Bathing was rare. Fresh water was too valuable to waste on cleanliness. Lice and fleas were constant companions, hiding in seams and hair and blankets. Yet, amidst the hardship, there was order. Every ship had its rules, its articles, agreed upon by all. These outlined shares of loot, punishments, and conduct, democracy at sea, in a strange and limited form. Captains were often elected and could be deposed. Each pirate had a role: the cook, the carpenter, the gunner, the boatswain, who managed sails and rigging, all contributed to the ship's survival. Idle time was spent mending sails, coiling ropes, sharpening blades, or simply trying to rest. And then there was the waiting. Days, sometimes weeks, without sighting another ship. Boredom settled like mist. The endless horizon offered no promise of change. Imagine lying in your hammock, your stomach half full, skin sticky with salt and sweat, the groaning of timbers around you as the ship shifts. And outside, the stars wheel silently over an unchanging sea. This was daily life, not glamorous, not cinematic, just the rhythm of survival, day after day, of hunger and heat, of labor and tedium, of creaking ropes and flapping sails. Still awake, then let us continue. From the scraping grind of ordinary days, we now turn our gaze to a figure of man whose name is etched into the stories of the sea. A pirate whose life offers us more than just a legend. Let's explore the story of Edward Teach, known to most as Blackbeard. Let the sea grow darker now. Let the sky settle into twilight. The ship creaks gently underfoot, and a soft wind stirs the sails. Now, picture a man standing at the helm. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a thick beard that falls to his chest like tangled moss. Woven into that beard, lengths of slow-burning fuse, smoking softly. His eyes, shadowed beneath a wide-brimmed hat, scanned the waves. This was Edward Teacher, Edward Thatch, depending on the spelling. But to the world, he was something else entirely. Blackbeard. You may have heard the name. You may imagine a fearsome villain, sword raised high, laughter booming across the sea. But like all history, his story is quieter, more grounded, and, perhaps, more melancholy. Edward Teach was likely born in Bristol, England, around 1680. Precise records are scarce. His early life, lost in the fog of time. He may have been a privateer during the War of the Spanish Succession, a legal pirate of sorts, attacking enemy ships with the blessing of the British Crown. Many pirates began this way, serving a cause before turning to their own. By 1716, he had taken to piracy in earnest. He joined the crew of Captain Benjamin Hornigold, a fellow privateer turned pirate. It wasn't long before Teach was given command of his own Basila-captured sloop. He was intelligent, literate, and strategic. Not the wild brute of legend, but a calculated performer. His terrifying image, the smoking beard, the slow fuse, the dark silhouette, was carefully crafted. Not for chaos, but for control. He knew that fear was a weapon more powerful than any cannon. The better the show, the less likely he'd need to actually fight. In 1717, he captured a French slave ship near the island of St. Vincent. He renamed it the Queen Anne's Revenge, outfitted it with 40 guns, and made it his flagship. From there, his name spread. He blockaded the port of Charleston, South Carolina, halting all ships from entering or leaving. He demanded a chest of medicine from the terrified city's leaders, and when they delivered it, he simply sailed away. No bloodshed, no chaos. It's just a demonstration of power. But the golden age of piracy was already fading. By 1718, the British Crown had declared war on pirates. An offer of pardon was extended to those who surrendered peacefully. Blackbeard accepted it, briefly retiring near Bath, North Carolina. Some say he lived like a gentleman there, blending into the coast, but the sea always called him back. Soon, he returned to piracy, more cautious, more sporadic, but no less daring. It wasn't long before colonial governors saw him as a threat too large to ignore. Virginia's governor, Alexander Spotswood, sent Lieutenant Robert Maynard to hunt him down. The final confrontation came in November of 1718 near Ocracoke Island, in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Maynard's forces found Blackbeard. A fierce and brutal fight followed. Blackbeard was struck down not easily but eventually. His contemporary reports claim he was shot 5 times and slashed more than 20. Even then, it is said, he kept fighting, until at last he collapsed. His head was taken and hung from the bow of Maynard's ship, a warning to others. But remember, this isn't a story of fantasy, not of ghosts or curses. Blackbeard was a man, a sailor, a strategist, not a monster. He lived hard, died young, left behind a legend. And yet, even his story is not the whole story. Every pirate was famous. Not every ship carried treasure, and not every mystery was solved. As the wind shifts again, let us turn to something stranger, a hidden fragment of the past, buried for centuries, a glimpse into the unknown. Let us explore a mystery beneath the waves, the discovery of Blackbeard's sunken ship, and the strange items it held. After Blackbeard's final battle, the legend of the man grew louder, but the trace of his greatest ship fell silent. For nearly 300 years, the Queen Anne's Revenge lay hidden beneath shallow water, just off the North Carolina coast, forgotten, undisturbed, and slowly swallowed by time. In 1996, marine archaeologists discovered a wreck near Beaufort Inlet. It lay under just 20 feet of water, barnacle, covered, scattered, quiet, but as the pieces came up, the picture grew clearer. This was no ordinary shipwreck. This is. The Queen Anne's Revenge had run aground in June of 1718. Whether by accident or design, Blackbeard abandoned her. He kept only the smaller ships and a smaller crew. Perhaps it was strategy. Smaller ships meant faster movement, fewer mouths to feed, and tighter control, and the Queen Anne's Revenge was left to the sea. Over the years, more than 300,000 artifacts have been recovered. Not treasure chests or golden goblets, but the tools of daily life. Cooking pots, pewter dishes, iron nails, and cannonballs. A medical syringe, likely used for treating infections. A tiny set of scales for weighing coins. Even a book, its pages warped by water, tucked in a cannon's hollow. A reminder someone aboard could read, and perhaps, now and then, did. Weapons were found too. Swivel guns, flintlock pistols, not meant for duels, but for control. It's fast, loud, and intimidating. What stands out is how ordinary the items are. This wasn't a floating palace. It was a mobile, armed workplace. Hot, damp, crowded. Meals were simple. Hardtack, dried peas, salted meat. Fresh water turned stale quickly. Clothes were rarely washed. And sleep came in snatches, shared hammocks, shared space. Still, pirate life wasn't entirely lawless. Crews often voted on major decisions. Captains were elected and could be removed. Evil loot was shared, though not equally. Its rough democracy set pirate life apart, gave the desperate a strange kind of power. A sailor who'd been beaten on a Navy ship could now vote, can be heard, but it was no utopia. Punishments aboard were harsh. Mutiny was feared. Disease was constant. Injuries often meant death, and the ocean gave nothing for free. What the Queen Anne's Revenge offers is clarity, a view beneath the myth. These pirates weren't legends. They were laborers, survivors, opportunists, and their ship tells a quieter story than the ones in books. One of scraped knuckles and careful hands, of fire, water, and waiting. Artifacts are still being studied, painstakingly cleaned, labeled, preserved. Each object a voice from the seafloor. Together, they tell us, the pirate's life was not a dream. It was a job, a dangerous, uncertain, and often short one. And now, let us leave the muddy remains behind. Let us rise from the seabed, through the dark water, toward a different shore, to the high windows of government halls, to silk gloves and quiet judgment, to those who look down upon the pirate world while still profiting from it. As pirates sailed the oceans, another world watched them quietly, carefully. In high-ceilinged rooms, lit by flickering candlelight, men in wigs and waistcoats sat at polished desks, dipping quills into ink. signing laws, charters, pardons. These were colonial governors, wealthy merchants, and investors. They rarely braved storms. They didn't climb rigging or swab decks, but their fortunes came from the sea. To them, piracy was inconvenient, but also useful, a disruption to trade routes, yes, but also a source of cheap goods and sudden wealth. Letters arrive from across the Atlantic, reports of ships taken, goods stolen, captains lost, and yet business continued, because for every loss there was opportunity. Some governors turned blind eyes. Others accepted gifts from sugar, even gold. Pirates like Blackbeard were pardoned by colonial authorities, only to return quietly to their old habits. In back rooms, deals were made. A merchant might buy stolen molasses at a steep discount. A judge might delay a trial, just long enough for someone to vanish. Pirates disturbed order, but they also stirred profit. Meanwhile, in London and Boston, pirate trials became public events. Pamphlets were printed, ballads were sung. Blackbeard, Calico Jack, and Bonnie names turned to legend. The same people who condemned pirates told their stories around fireplaces. Pirates became both fearsome and fascinating, teenness and curiosities. And for the common sailor, a pirate ship offered something rare, a vote, voice, a share, that frightened the elite more than violence ever could. Because piracy hinted at another way, a world without lords or masters, a ship where power was earned, not inherited. And yet, it was no paradise. When pirates were caught, they were hanged, often at the harbor's edge, left dangling as warnings. Their bodies swayed with the tide, but the tide always returns. So did piracy. As the gentry sipped wine and debated law, sails still crossed the horizon. Some were lawful, some not. But for those in powdered wigs, the difference didn't always matter. As long as the goods kept coming. Now, the candles burn low. The ledges are closed, and the ships grow small in the distance. Let us gently return from quartz and coin to the quiet of the present. And now we drift toward the quiet end of our journey. From the creaking decks of pirate ships, to the cool, echoing halls of colonial courts. From the hiss of black powder to the rustle of parchment, we've traveled across oceans, time, and memory. The pirate's life, so often romanticized, was, in truth, a life of hard choices. It was not filled with buried treasure, nor endless sunsets over calm seas. It was labor, it was risk. It was salt-stung eyes and sunburned skin. It was hunger, uncertainty, and storm. And yet, for some, it was better than the life they left behind. The men and women who turned pirate did not chase legend. They chased survival. A sailor escaping a cruel captain, a prisoner freed in a raid, a merchant turned outlaw. Each had a reason. Each carried a story. Some sought wealth, some sought revenge, some sought freedom, but most simply sought a chance to eat, to earn, to live by different rules. And though the sea offered that briefly, it also demanded much in return. Storms tore sails and snapped masts. Disease crept below deck. Mutiny loomed when the shares ran thin. Always, just beyond the horizon, the Navy watched. If captured, a pirate's fate was almost certain. Trial, sentence, rope. Bodies hung by the harbor's edge, left for the tide to wash beneath. Still, others came, drawn by whispers of gold, of freedom, of fame, and over time, their stories grew. Pamphlets were printed, songs were sung, names became legend. Blackbeard, Anne, Bonnie, Bartholomew Roberts, but beyond the tales and the myths, there was truth. They lived hard, but they died young, and they left behind more questions than answers. Now, their ships are gone. Their maps have faded. Their bones lost to the ocean floor. Yet, something remains. A longing, perhaps. A question. A flicker of rebellion. 'Cause pirates remind us, even if faintly, of a life unconstrained. A life beyond walls, beyond rules, beyond clocks and wages. And maybe that's why, in the quiet hours, we still dream of them. But tonight, there are no sails on the horizon. No drums of war. No shouting voices. Only the hush of water, the creak of a wooden hull, the sound of the wind, and you, drifting. Let go of the cannon fire. Let go of the storm. Let go of the chase. Sink gently into stillness. Before we part, if your eyes are still open, what time is it where you are? Midnight? 2 in the morning? Comment it below if you're still here. And if not, if your breathing is slow and your mind far away, then rest. History doesn't shout, it whispers. And now it sleeps. Good night.